It's Friday, January 10th, 2014, and let's talk about what happened this week over at XDADevelopers.com from the International CES 2014. Poof, and as if by magic we are in my hotel room, on my hotel bed. Ladies. Anyway, it's just much later in the day. It's been a very long day here at CES and our last full day at the event. So let's go ahead and get started talking about what happened this week over at the website. First up, excellent news if you're a user of the Xperia T or the Xperia SP. Thanks to XDA recognized developer Doomlord, a leaked build of Android 4.3 is now available for the Xperia T and the Xperia SP. Now, it was initially only intended for developer edition devices, but it has been made available to run on general production devices. So if you have one of these devices, go ahead and check out the forum thread for all the details and how to get it running. It is still a leaked edition, so it should be okay, but just be wary. Like I said, make sure to read through the forum thread because someone may mention something going on with it. Something may have gone wrong with the device. I haven't even been to the forum because busy. Moving right along, if you're an owner of the Samsung Galaxy S Plus, you might be in luck. Thanks to a group of developers that are calling themselves the Dev Connection team, there are now builds of Cyanogenmod 10.1 and 11 available for this device. Now, it should be mentioned these are still unofficial Cyanogenmod builds, and the CM11 build may not be 100% stable, so do again make sure to read through the forum thread to see if there are any caveats or any details listed there, because the portal post doesn't really go into what's not working. There's a list of what is working for CM11, and the list looks pretty decent, but it's entirely possible that something about it that makes it a daily driver for you might not be working. So like I said, just check through and make sure everything's okay before you go flashing it and not being happy. Now on to more general and random news that just kind of came from the portal that I thought was interesting. XDA senior member JRod1980 has discovered that the Moto X actually has a notification light, a notification LED specifically, hidden up near the speaker at your ear. Up to this point, really didn't think there was one, simply because it has the active display notification, so it just flashes up what it needs and then back. It sort of breathes a notification to you. But apparently when you plug the device in and it has a completely discharged battery, the green notification LED lights up. And with this, they've been able to figure out some commands you can throw at it to make it blink, and you can throw that in with things like Tasker, other automation software like that, in order to actually take advantage of this notification LED. Now keep in mind, if you want to be able to do anything with it like this, you do have to have your device rooted and you have to use some sort of software to communicate with it, so you're not just typing commands and sending them through the terminal, because that's not an easy way to use a notification LED. But it should definitely be doable, and if you guys are here on the site, you've probably got your device rooted if you're using the Moto X. So I look forward to seeing what you guys do with that, and we move on. Now really, the next story, nothing to do with the forum, nothing to do with anything other than it makes me kind of happy. A couple of weeks ago, Google made the announcement that they were going to disable the Show Images button. They were going to turn off the lack of images in email by default, at least on Gmail through the browser. They said that it would come to Android eventually. Well, apparently the new update to Gmail, 4.7.2, turns off that not showing images by default, or at least gives you the option to turn that off. So if you want to see images in your email, you can do that. And I know in my case, 9 times out of 10, I am hitting show images and then always show images by default for this sender. So this should save just a little bit of time for every single email I open. Now it should be mentioned that it has not become fully publicly available yet, but there is a mirrored version of it available if you would like to download it and give it a shot on your device of choice. I will probably be doing that myself sometime soon. And I'm sure there are probably some security concerns with regard to not showing images from people that are suspicious, but like I said before, you can actually just go ahead and turn it back on if you don't want to show the images. So it's sort of a two-edged sword. You either get all of it on or you have to do everything by hand. And in my case, I don't get that much spam realistically, so I would rather just have it turned on and show me the images I want to see. Now moving right along, we spoke before, it's been a little while now, about the Cyanogenmod and Oppo partnership and the Oppo N1 that was Cyanogenmod branded. But we also discussed the possibility of Cyanogen partnering up with some other companies moving forward, but there were no real specifics given at the time. Well, as of this week, of course, the week that I'm out of town, the week that everything else is going on, that partnership has been announced, and the first commercial Cyanogenmod based phone that's not the Oppo is now going to become available. They've partnered up with ex-Oppo employees to create a new company called OnePlus, or at least the ex-Oppo employees are creating the company called OnePlus, and the first phone they're going to release running Cyanogen is going to be called the OnePlus One, which is apparently not 2. Now the slogan for this new company, the new campaign, the new device, all of that stuff is never settle. So it's sort of assumed that it's going to be more premium, it's going to be at a bit of a premium price point. No actual pricing or specs or anything about the device have been unveiled, but of course as we know more about it, we will make sure to share it with you so you will know more about it, so you will go buy it, buy stuff. Now, another interesting announcement came out this week, completely unrelated to the previous story, sorry, no transition there, but an interesting announcement came out related to automotives with regard to Android. And wrapping that up there, apparently Android is coming to cars starting in 2014 through the Open Automotive Alliance. And the whole goal of this alliance seems to be to inspire openness and bring Android into the automotive sphere. There are already several companies that have committed to being a part of this, including Google, Audi, General Motors, Honda, Hyundai, and Nvidia. Now the good thing about this, at least from where I'm sitting, is this gives us a way to interact with our cars that we're going to be familiar with, a way that we're going to be able to customize potentially, and a way that's pretty easy for car manufacturers to get into and actually take advantage of because it's Android, it's customizable. That's the entire purpose and point of it pretty much. The downside that I see to this is, just like with a lot of smart devices, what happens when the manufacturers decide to stop supporting it with updates? What happens when something goes wrong with the device and you have to have it replaced? What happens if you brick your car? I think I saw in the comment section of it somewhere, someone mentioned process com.gearbox.ignition stopped, force closed. And I'm not really sure that that's the kind of thing you're going to end up seeing. That's probably not a part of the car you're going to be really interacting with in terms of Android. More likely than not, it's going to be the whole entertainment system, the in-vehicle entertainment stuff. And of course Android is perfectly capable and suited to do that. But one way or another, having Android a little bit more integrated into our driving experience could be entertaining, could be useful. It could also be very dangerous depending on the kind of things that you're doing with Android while you're driving. But definitely having in-vehicle dash that you can use for GPS and navigation would be extremely helpful, and having one that's standardized and using Google Maps and able to connect either by tethering to your phone or by using some sort of a built-in 3G, 4G signal would be really handy. I know we saw something very similar when we test drove the BMW the other day using the Nvidia Tegra chip. It has a built-in 3G browser, so it's able to give you GPS directions live on the fly using that in-vehicle dash. And actually, if you wanted to see more about all of that, we have a video of that over on my channel where I drove the car, and it was lots and lots of fun. And the last thing I wanted to mention before we CES all of the things, in the last week, BlueStack made a pretty big announcement. If you're not familiar with BlueStack, it's effectively sort of an emulation layer that sits on top of Windows and allows you to run Android apps on top of Windows. Well, with this new announcement, you're now actually able to run full Android on top of Windows. Like the full OS, everything, the launcher, the apps, all of it. Now, as you'll see if you actually go look at the article, BlueStacks is owned by AMD, so there are going to be some optimizations that make working with AMD, using some of the newer AMD APUs, make it optimized a little bit more for that, because specifically some of the newest APUs come with a built-in ARM chip as well. So you can easily interact with Android on top of Windows using the native ARM stuff on top of it to sort of integrate. That's not to say that it's not going to work with other chips or other devices, but you'll probably get the best experience if you're using a newer high-end AMD CPU APU. Yeah. I actually haven't touched BlueStacks in a very long time, so maybe it's time to do that and make a video about it if you guys are interested in seeing it. I don't believe that I have an APU device though, so we'll just have to see how it works running on top of a traditional Intel or AMD system, because I've got both of those. And the very last thing to mention, we put out 4 other videos on XDA Developer TV this week from CES here in Las Vegas, where we are sitting and the creepy lady is staring at me. In the first video, we did a recap of the press day events, all the fun stuff that we saw and heard at that. The second video, we got our hands on with the Sony Xperia Z1S and the Z1 Compact. In the third video, we got a chance to get our hands on the new Nvidia Tegra K1, get some full explanation about it and full demonstrations from the guys over at Nvidia. And finally, we uploaded a video just today talking about the LG G Flex, getting a hands-on with it and a back pocket on with it and a face on with it and a curvilicious. One of the ladies at LG told us to use that word. And we've actually got a couple more videos coming out tomorrow, one from the Samsung booth and one from the Huawei booth, so be on the lookout for those. And you can also check out my channel where I've been putting out videos pretty regularly covering things like smartwatches and wearables and the BMW i3 that I mentioned earlier. So the link to my channel can be found down in the video description as usual. Remember, if you like this video though, hit the like button down below. We definitely appreciate that. Subscribe to receive our content as soon as it becomes available. Thank you so much for watching though, and I will see you again next time. Bye guys.